What's up, people? Welcome to another edition of the New Breed Podcast, the world's best quasi-new metal podcast from two dudes who are really there. One half your host and duo, Jay Horskow. With me, I have my partner in crime, the notorious TM, Tim Anderson Jr. Tim, how's it going?
Great.
What are we talking about
Just
this week?
wonderful.
Tim, what are we talking about this week in this nice, cooler weather? We're talking about, everybody, the importance of mixed bills. It's 2024, people. We got to talk about the elephant in the room, which is mixed bills. So I'm going to start off the conversation, Tim, by talking about let's start with Europe. Let's start with Europe and the festival scene over in Europe. We know that there's a lot of bands that go over and tour Europe for the American summer because they go from festival to festival to festival. For those international listeners, we have all two of you. The United States is way bigger than people realize, and you could drive for 10 hours in Texas and still not leave the state of Texas. Which I bring this up because it's different in Europe, where you can drive 10 hours and cross over 15 countries and then end up in a Mediterranean, right? Or
Oh
deep in
yeah.
Soviet Russia, where you're going to have different problems. So, oh, Russia, not Soviet Russia. Sorry, 80s kid. So, the thing that always stood out to me about those international festivals, right? Donington, Aftershock, Rock Am Ring, even things like Obscene Extreme, Arctangent, mixed bills. The bills are greatly varied. And I mean, we'll get to the Americas in a bit, but the fact that you have on one stage a bunch of metal bands, on another stage a bunch of pop music, you have well-known DJs and electronic acts on another, and then you have like a hardcore stage, right? Which is like Hatebreed or Sick of It All. I, it always seemed really cool to me as a fan, and it always seemed like that would be a draw to me. But for some reason, and we're going to go through some of the shows that I personally have been through in the 90s, early aughts, mixed bills were a thing, and then for some reason they died out, and we became monocultured into multiple bands of the same ilk, and then we don't understand why. We don't understand why interest tapes off, and now we're starting to see the rise of importance of mixed bills in the states. I've been talking a lot, Tim. What are your thoughts to start?
Yeah, I think after COVID hit and live music just got severely fucked. I think the best thing after that was you seen a lot of mixed bills coming back. Because before that it felt like it was just like stagnant for a while. And then it got even more stagnant after. Like the first few months of music actually coming back, it was even super stagnant. And then I think people realized like, you know what? We like let's go back to 2002 where it was Poison the Well, Kid Dynamite, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
was just like people were thinking like back to the heyday because to me the heyday is 98 to 2002. To me, it'll always be the heyday for me.
Of mixed bills, absolutely, absolutely. I also think, Tim, to your point about COVID, right? We had all those bands not tour for a year and a half, almost two. So then everybody went out on the road at the same time. And if everybody's going out on the road at the same time, there's going to be way too many shows
Yeah,
that a fan that has mixed taste could even keep up. And not to mention the fact that you need to if you have that much competition for what you're offering, you need to give people a reason to get out of the house.
absolutely. I
You give
mean,
people a reason to get out of the house.
what's that LA Fest called again?
Is it Sound of Fury? Yeah.
Yeah. That fest, man. I've been super impressed with them lineups the last few years. Like to me, that's the epitome right now of like a mixed bill fest for me. I mean, like what was it this year? Chat pile.
You had Chat Pile, you had bands like Peeling Flesh, Sanguisugabong played, Torture, and then you had
Well,
other, like you had
so like
hardcore,
snuffed
like
on sight.
yeah, you had stuff on. So you had all these hardcore bands, but you had metal bands, you had some beatdown stuff. I mean, you need to. Otherwise, you're going to paint yourself into a lane, right? So, for example, I'm going to go back to, I quote this show all the time, right? Um, the WSOU 10th anniversary concert. So this is Seton Hall's Pirate Radio. They do the festival in Asbury Park at the Asbury Park Convention Hall. This is 96. And if you look at this lineup, right? So starting from the bottom, Tim, we've got Kilgore, Unsane, Shift, Dead Guy, Dog Eat Dog. So those are all hardcore and hardcore adjacent bands. But think about the sound. Kilgore, this is Kilgore playing as Kilgore Smudge, so new metal. You have Unsane, which is that abrasive New York, almost, avant-garde type stuff. You have Shift, right? Which is almost that was melodic, right? Melodic upbeat stuff. You have Dead Guy, we all know, not the Tim Singer Dead Guy. This is with the crispy Dead Guy and Dog Eat Dog isms. They have a fucking saxophone guy on stage. You also had 5 Seconds Expired, which is a Vermont hardcore band. You had Marauder, Neurosis, Madball, and Fury of Five. Right? Neurosis. We all know what Neurosis is, like totally insane, noisy shit. This is them through Silver and Blood. Madball, right? Fury of Five, New Jersey's finest, and Marauder. Jesus. Right?
Yeah.
And we haven't even gotten to the big name bands. H2O, Misfits, Vile, Orange Nine. That's four different bands. Hardcore adjacent, industrial, right? Downset, Overkill, Propane, the band Core, which is like stoner rock type shit, right? Biohazard or Fear Factor were the headliners. So this was a true mixed bill in the sense of it was all, I would argue that you consider that extreme music, but it was all of the heavier variety, but it wasn't all hardcore. It wasn't all metal. There was some psychedelic type stuff. I remember being hungover from the night before and actually sleeping in the audience during core. No lie. No lie. The band that doesn't show up on here, Drill. Drill was on this show. Do you remember them with Lucia, what's her name, who sings for KMFDM?
Yeah.
Uh, but again, that was a totally mixed up bill. That's the definition of a mixed bill. That will get people out of the house. That will get people out of the house. Uh, I'm looking at some of the other. I mean, here we go. Fishbone, Snot, and Dub War,
Yeah. That's wild, actually.
right? And then, God, they played till like fucking 2:30 in the morning. It was insane. I don't. Uh, we're not going to talk about the last year of Lollapalooza, but even I mean, let's use the example of shit, Tim. Deftones. Deftones took out Will Haven and Limp Bizkit.
Which I mean, I guess at that time you could say all new metal except for Will Haven because I mean people lump Will Haven and new metal for some reason. I have no
For
clue
some
why.
weird reason, I think it's because the Deftones took them out. But again, this is Deftones touring off of the second album. This is Limp Bizkit touring off the first album. So they were legit direct support. They were not like a co-headliner or anything. This was truly a direct support show. Um, I you need to change up the pace, right? So wildly aside, recent show I've been to, fairly recent, I guess in the last couple of years, maybe it's like 10 years, Jesus. You want to talk about a mixed bill that's not so mixed but worked? I saw Russian Circles was the headliner, right? Instrumental post rock with direct support was Ken Mode and Inter Arma. Three bands, kind of in the same orbit, but different. I got there for Inter Arma because I wanted to see the whole thing. And that's the other thing about mixed bills where you change the lineup, you change how they're ordered, people are going to show up and pay attention.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing now too is the young kids are clamoring on to certain stuff. And I think when you put a mixed bill up, you're gonna draw more of that young crowd, I think. Because especially now because you have to worry about it going away again.
Yes.
That's the main thing for you got to worry. Like I'm not one to really talk because shit, I barely go to shows anymore. I don't have fucking time for that shit. And I know that's a lame excuse, but it really is, you know,
Mm.
really is the thing for me. But you never know if it's going to go away again. So I think you make it a mixed bag, and you're going to get more people into the scene, more people into the shows. That's just my opinion. Because I've been seeing a lot of people online just bitching and moaning about the dumbest shit these days, man. And that's definitely one of them.
Yeah. Uh, Here's an example of a quasi mixed bill that worked. VOD, Glassjaw, and Cave-In.
Oh yeah,
Let's think about that. Right? VOD, headliner. This was the Troc in Philly back in 2000. Glassjaw, which is, again, Long Island, but this is the first album, right? So this is like Screamo type stuff. And Cave-In, and this is Cave-In doing their weird Jupiter type stuff.
which was
Antenna
amazing.
Days. Yes. Not the earlier like Crossbear or Juggernaut type stuff. I'm trying to find there was a show I went to. Where was it? There was a show I went to. It was a hardcore show. And ISIS was on it. trying to find it. Jesus, I got so many shows here that I saved. But it was ISIS and somebody else where it was kind of a weird. How's this shit gonna go together? I can't find it. Oh, I definitely lost my fucking stub for that. Yeah, but I mean, back to Sound of Fury, right? Back to Sound of Fury. Look at New England Metal and Hardcore Festival coming up.
That
They've
lineup is
got they've
crazy,
got
dude.
hardcore, they've got metal, they've got some deathcore, they've got. I mean, and this is all. That's the big name. Like, hey, look, our logo is on the flyer. I think that there is. Oh, here we go. Here you go. Candiria, Dillinger Escape Plan. You ready for this? Zayo, ISIS, Shai Hulud.
Jesus Christ. Where was this at again?
This was at the Troc in 2000.
God damn.
Zayo no showed. It was Shai Hulud, ISIS, Dillinger, and Candiria. Shout out to my buddy Tito who blew out his knee during Shai Hulud. First and last time I ever went to a show with that guy.
You know the thing about this though, like we're sounding like we're yelling at fucking the sky and all that shit, but I know a lot of people listening to this are going to be like, yeah, but this was back then, this is now. But at the same time, it doesn't matter because we're naming bands that were, we're naming bands from back in the day, but there's bands that are now that you could do the same thing with.
yes.
It's just different bands.
I I would argue, Tim, that nowadays you need to mix your bill, otherwise you're going to get stuck. I will say that the one show I've been to in recent memory that was not really a fully mixed bill, and it still was insane. It was Paleface Swiss first headline tour here in the States. So it was them, Enterprise Earth. Shit, who's the other band? Victims and Crown Magnetar. So they're all very much in the same genre, right? Very much. But that room was fucking packed. The show sold out. I saw a room full of people I'd never seen before in all the years I've been going to shows in Philly. I didn't recognize anybody, which is kind of wild. That worked. But then I went to another, I guess you could say that it was a deathcore show. It was Mouth for War, Throne, Body Snatcher, and Spite. And it wasn't nearly as packed. Like I guess what I'm trying to say is if you decide not to do a mixed bill and you decide to lean in on a particular vein or a particular genre, it's going to be hit or miss. Like,
Yeah,
it's going to be hit or
absolutely. I mean,
miss.
I mean, especially these days because it's the music is so rampant out there that like take a particular Friday, just any Friday. I mean, if you go through the new releases, it is fucking so ridiculous. It takes weeks to check it all out. Like literally, I'm behind so much music has came out. I'm so behind. It's absolutely nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
Mm-hmm.
never behind on music. I'm usually waiting until the next release day so I can get more.
Right.
But I'm so behind. And then you see all the tours mentioned, and it's like, whoa, I could not even imagine them bands touring together.
Right. I mean, we were just talking about the upcoming Tsunami headliner, where it's Tsunami,
Oh
Ingrown,
yeah.
Ingrown, Scarab, and Terrena, and Bayway's playing the Philly date. So yes, that's all hardcore. Yes, yes, agreed, agreed. Moving along, all different types of hardcore,
Yeah.
right? And that's the true mix of that bill.
Yeah. Instead of like 10-yard fight and then a bunch of 10-yard fights after. Like that I couldn't even imagine going to something like that.
Yeah, you can't. The idea of booking the headliner and then all of the support bands being clones, it doesn't. And again, you want to say, oh well, you guys are old, you guys don't get off the couch, right? So whenever I say, oh well, this will get me out of the house, well, you're not the target demo, you're older, you're not getting off the couch, okay, but look at it through a different lens. Look at it through the lens of there are three shows on the same night in different places. Which one are you going to go to?
The mixed.
Me, I'm going to go to a mixed bill. Unless there's one of the other shows is a band I had either seen before 20 years ago and will never miss them again, or it's somebody that I have never seen before and I love. But odds are most people are going to leave the house for a mixed bill. And I talk all the time about Psycho Las Vegas here. The last year that I went, you want to talk about the epitome of mixed bills, right? You had fucking RZA or Method Man and Redman playing After Emperor. Oh, I'm getting old. Like, or After Mayhem, I think it was. This is the kind of show that I think places need to do. And if you're going to lean in on a particular genre, I think you kind of paint yourself into a corner. And the young and think about how here's a word that's going to come off as insulting, and I don't mean to insult anybody. Think about how spastic most people's music tastes are these days. With Spotify, most people don't listen for a song to a song last longer than say 90 seconds, maybe 2 minutes. Maybe you get a full song out of people. They definitely don't listen to full LPs, which are an hour, right? And they listen to a ton of different shit. I'm looking at the younger crowd here. Why would you not want to maximize your ability to pull them in?
Well, I think also people probably think it's going to be hard, like to book the mix thing. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I have Corpse playing headlining, and then I'm going to have blah 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 Terror playing before that. I think it's kind of like they're kind of like, why would I play that show for various reasons? But at the same time, when you think about it, you play that show because you're gonna, even if you get two extra fans out of that, that might be two extra shirts you sell,
Yeah, and I mean,
two extra CDs,
we got to. I guess
vinyl these
we
days.
should get Adam on to talk about like mixed bills because he's talked about some of the shows he's played on, and we're not blaming promoters here because yes, the bands are part of it too. Like, oh, I won't go out with Slaughter the Prevail as the headliner, and direct support is going to be I don't know, fucking Mortician, and I'm a hardcore band. Well, I don't know if I want to go out on that. Why wouldn't you want to go out on that?
Oh
Like,
yeah, that would be perfect.
what a lineup, right? Sort of the Prevail, Mortician, and like fucking Gridiron, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that again, there's something to be said with give people a reason to get up off the couch. And some of the bands, I mean, let's go back to Will Haven, right? So I saw that tour. I was there for the Deftones. And I really liked that Limp Bizkit album, but I hadn't seen them live yet. It was my first time seeing them live. I did not like Will Haven at all. I did not like Will Haven at all. But a week later, the songs were still in my head, and I went and bought the CD at Sam Goody.
Which is super weird to hear because you didn't like them then, but then the songs were stuck in your head. That's super weird.
And then I went and bought them. Like, yeah, I really, really like this. And I think it was because, and let's talk about another benefit to mixed bills, shattering expectations. So I'm going to see the Deftones touring off of Around the Fur with Limp Bizkit with $3 Bill Y'all, right? Our two new metal bands, obviously. They bring out this band I never heard of before, Will Haven. Okay, apparently they're from Sacramento. They're on Revelation Records. I should have known by them being on Revelation, but even then we could argue that they're a bit of an outlier there. And they get up and they're playing this slower, heavier stuff, and the dude is just screaming. Was not what I was expecting. Complete shattering of expectations. But goddamn, I got it stuck in my head. And then I turned around and bought the album. And
And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for
yes,
someone to go, oh, you know what? I've never heard this band. I'm gonna buy the merch now. I'm gonna buy this. So see, it's essential right now that you do that too, because bands aren't really making money off of record sales anymore. Let's
right.
be completely fucking honest. Name a band that's making money off of record sales other than Metallica. That's in hard rock heavy metal.
It's got to be big, big, big bands. So, like, I would argue probably Turnstile probably makes a profit. I
Oh
would
yeah,
argue,
yeah.
but they've transcended, right? Like they've truly transcended what we're considering hardcore and metal, right?
Well, yeah, I mean they have Taco Bell commercials, don't they?
Yo, how fucking awesome would that be to get residuals from fucking Yum Inc?
Yeah.
That'd be great. I don't know, but that'd be fucking great. Talk about passive income, you know?
I wonder if they can go through a drive-through on tour and get some free food.
That's an interesting question. They would never come on this show because they're too big for us now. But I mean, that'd be an interesting question.
You never
Um,
know. They might.
yeah, yeah. But I think you're right. Nobody, you make the money from the tour, you make money from getting people off their ass and getting them out in the venue. And I mean, here, let's talk about a good, great, what I think is a great example of a mixed bill tour coming up. So, Signs of the Swarm is doing a decade of the Swarm, and they actually published their set list. It's almost the all of the newest album,
Wait, they've
and
been
like
together that long already?
yeah, but remember that's the Deathcore has revolving door members, right? They all like hot swap. It's really incestuous, but they're doing almost the entire new album Amongst the Low and Empty, 6 songs through, and it's like one track off every album prior to that.
Mm.
Who is the supporting bands? Direct support is Cane Hill,
I fucking love that.
right? So it's a quasi new metal, heavier rock band. Direct right under Cane Hill of Sulfur, Ricky Hoover, straight deathcore. Band under that, 156 Silence, part of that screamo boundaries esque scene. And direct support of them, Awaken Providence, which is
Mm.
Worm Shepherd, Lorna Shore, death metal, right? Symphonic death metal. Those are 5 bands, man. That's gonna be now that I've said that out loud, that's gonna be a long fucking night. I better rest my
Yeah, it
legs and
is.
wear some
Jesus
wear some
Christ.
compression shorts. Compression socks, I should say. But that's a good example of you have a deathcore band, you have a new metal, new rock band, right? You have a straight deathcore band, you have a screamy hardcore band, and then you have blackened metal. Dude, I'm going for Awakened Providence. My feet are gonna hurt. Only because I paid for the ticket. I want to see them fucking live. I don't know if I'm gonna like it or not. Stuff I listen to, I'm kind of on the fence. But again, it's a mixed bill. And I
That
really don't want to miss 156 Silence.
that Cane Hill thing is fucking crazy. Because A, they're an amazing band, but B, how do they don't fit on that bill, but that's the special part about it.
Right. They're direct support to Signs of the Swarm.
Yeah. Like who came up with that and was like, let me let's put Cane Hill on this. It's like, wait, what?
But I think, didn't Adam say it's best to be the heaviest? You either want to be the heaviest band on the bill or the lightest band on the bill.
Yes.
I will bet you they walk away with a ton of new fans
Oh, fucking
because
absolutely.
at that point you're 4 bands in and they are so different than anything everybody had heard up until that point.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. And it kind of sounds like we're being fucking what's that word? What's the fuck's that word when you say something and do the opposite?
Hypocrites.
Yeah, it sounds like we're being very hypocritical talking about this bill, but at the same time we're talking about how eclectic it really is. Because
Yes,
Cane
that
Hill is just like you go from Of Sulphur to Cane Hill, that is 2 different islands, man. 2 different,
yes.
way far apart islands in my
Yeah.
eyes. I fucking love Cane Hill, but like I would never see them on that tour. You know what I mean? So yeah, it
Yeah.
sounds hypocritical, but at the same time, it's pretty much the basis of the episode. So I pulled up this link earlier, and the first headline is the headliner is this band from Philadelphia that sounds like Pavement. The main support, this band from New York, sounds like Pavement. The openers are these bands from Boston that sound like Pavement. Some may look at that and think, how fitting. I look at it and I get fucking bored. And it's, yeah, dude. It's like, who the fuck wants to go see Pavement 5 fucking times in a row?
Um I'm trying to think what's I honestly think the most monoculture show I've been to recently has got it probably that Body Snatcher Spite tour. And even still, I mean, there was a lot of people there. It sold really well. It was in the middle of the week and it was packed. Um, but like look at and we're gonna keep going back to Sound of Fury because it's the most recent example. But look at the pop that Fleshwater got. Granted, they're all in vain, but Chat Pile.
Yeah, that
So it's a
came out of
hardcore
left
fest
fucking
where you have
field.
so if Have Heart is your anchor, right? That's the anchor sound that you're looking to plan this festival around, which is basically what they do. By the way, full disclosure, I can't fucking stand Have Heart. But anyway, if Have Heart's the middle, on one end you have Chat Pile, right? Flesh Water. On the other end you have Torture and Peeling Flesh. That is how you know that that is a true mixed bill, is when the compass sets off in different directions, you have a different sounding band at all 4 points.
Absolutely, yeah. Here I'm gonna read this other thing here. The truth of the matter is that most promoters don't book mixed bills not because combining multiple genres doesn't work, but because succeeding with a mixed bill takes work. When you get an all punk lineup, you're catering to a specific crowd. The punks, the folkies, the metalheads, people whose first thought when they hear LFO is low frequency oscillator and not that boy band from the 90s who ripped off more than words. More like a Kit Kat, give me a break. Wait, what? A single bill is surely an easier path to getting people in the door. You can't put 4 punk bands the local scene has heard of on a bill and get a draw equivalent to one of the nationally touring punk bands. But does this really help any of the bands? No. True.
Mm-mm. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, because it's like, how many times have you went to a show and say, okay, all right, Finch saves a day, Phoenix TX, Newfound Glory, right?
Mhm.
Okay, that's a bad example actually, because they're all pretty much four bigger bands from the drive-through era, I guess you could say. But at the same time, most people are going to say, I only want to see Finch. I don't care about these other bands because I don't feel like hearing fucking pop
Mhm.
punk all night. It's kind of like going to a death metal show and then leaving and playing death metal. It's like, dude, I'm burnt. You know what I mean? If you
I
go, I'm going to a mixed bill show. I'm hearing my senses are getting driven in all types of areas. So that's going to make me go before seeing four death metal bands.
I mean, I was just having the conversation this weekend where I forget who I was talking to, but I said, when I'm going into a metal show, I don't listen to metal on the drive there.
Or the ride home.
Nope, or the ride home. I don't listen whatever genre I'm going to see. I don't listen to because you don't want to burn your ears out,
Yeah.
right? Which
Oh,
is why when
that
you and
was
I went
like,
to
yep. Yeah, I knew you were gonna
Pantera,
say, yep.
I wanted to listen to Night Verses or like something completely different because I don't want to listen to metal before I go into the metal show.
And I had on all types of just death metal, black metal
It
shit.
was fucking terrible. And it's also like, and here's how you know the comparison, the dichotomy, right? The contrast, better word, works. One of the venues I used to love going to in New Jersey was the Birch Hill. And that was because in between bands, they would play shit that had no business being played. For
Oh, the
example, if
DJ sets.
it was a new metal show, and in between they were playing fucking hair metal or they were playing hip hop, right? Like you've seen those videos of the Turnstile show where they play Whitney Houston's "I Want to Dance with Somebody" before they come out, and the whole audience is singing. Like that to me, like I forgot what show I went to where they played Britney Spears and everybody was singing along.
That's
It was like
hilarious.
Toxic or something, or Genie in a Bottle by Christina Aguilera. Everybody was singing along. Again, this is you want to talk about the importance of Miss Bills. We'll prove it by what you play in between the song, in between the band sets. You need something that gives the ears a rest, right? Otherwise, you're just
Yeah.
pummeling your eardrums with metal, and it's like, I gotta go.
Here you go. The trouble in that isn't in the mixed bill, it's in the excitement. For example, if one, let alone more than one band, isn't an act that makes people say, I want to see them live, you can make 30 or 40 people on the verge of going to the gig all decide not to. But on the other hand, if you get a mixed bill where every band is worth seeing and has at least reaching I've heard of them level in your area, you're more than likely going to get everyone from all different groups to go. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. And you know what? Maybe again, maybe you come across something that you might not have liked that you like. You know?
Yeah. A common trap without mixed bills is booking the same bands over and over. Each scene only has a handful of bands with a legitimate draw. So those bands then tend to get all the gigs of that genre. The local alt band opens up for all the alt bands. The local punk band opens up for all the punk bands. The local folk band opens up for all the folk bands, and so it goes on. But this cuts off their local bands from building up and having a draw
Mm-hmm.
themselves. One good way for local bands to work around this is to legitimately promote the hell out of their gigs. And even if no one extra shows up, odds are the promoters will still notice the work they put in and get you on other mixed gigs.
Yes, and that's the other thing, right? The fact that hey, these guys showed up and they kind of got heckled, but you know what? They got some moxie. We're gonna put them on the next show. I sell like it for like the 50s. Hey, you got some moxie, eh? Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I mean it just I feel like the mixed bill thing kind of gets like the younger crowd to go to a show that's not a mixed bill too. You know what I mean? Because then they're thinking like, I did like that hardcore. Like, all right, say you have a pop punk kid, right?
Okay.
Newfound Glory's headliner, Terror's the direct support. Then you have like Saves the Day, and then you have like, well, Bayway, we'll just say, because of hardcore.
Okay.
You get a kid who's going there for Saves the Day, right? But
Okay.
Bayway opens. He goes into it. Who the fuck is this stupid band? But the first fucking song, they're just drawn in, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That kid goes, oh, this band's great. I'm gonna like their Facebook page. Then their Facebook page they're playing 3 weeks from now, but at an all hardcore gig. I kind of feel
Mm-hmm.
like that kid, especially if they're young, might go, you know what? I'm gonna go see this band because now I like hardcore.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
I I know we've probably beaten this horse, so we can wrap it up. But I guess for any of the, I guess our advice would be to the promoters that are listening. I, it's 2024, man. We're back to the mixed bill thing. It's in, and you got to do it. To the bands that are listening, hey, you got to get on shows that aren't just in your wheelhouse. Like, get some shit that's adjacent, get some shit that's totally out in left field, right? Like, who would have thought Knock Loose would open up for fucking Slipknot?
Not me.
And yet here we are. I guarantee you, the people who are showing up to see Slipknot play only out shit from the first album. I think a giant chunk, I would probably say a giant chunk, walk away at least curious about Knock Loose, maybe pick up a t-shirt while they're there, maybe listen to it on Spotify.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Speaking of that tour, I think after this tour, Knock Loose is just they're gonna just go.
Mm-hmm.
To me, they're gonna be touring arenas soon. Not arenas, but like, well, they're what are they doing now? They consider amphitheater.
Um,
What is Tweeter? Is that an amphitheater?
sheds.
It's a shed. What do you mean?
They're considered a shed because it's these big things that are outside.
Okay. Well, could you see them headlining that place?
Yeah. Now, yeah.
With who is direct support though? Like a Bring Me to Horizon? Nah, they're too big to direct support.
Oh, they would need to bring out, yeah, they would need to bring out someone who would draw. I mean,
Could you see a Bring Me to Horizon?
yes,
Fucking
yeah. Parkway Drive, anything in that
the
genre,
Parkway Drive is fucking huge.
right? Like counterparts.
Yeah.
Go out with counterparts, one of those like, upside down core bands,
Yeah, because
right?
yeah, Code
And then you
Orange.
and then you throw we got to talk about Code Orange. We're going to talk about that offline. Off air. But then you throw in like Spy
Yeah.
or End It or a Gridiron. And the way I've always looked at it is if you're going to do a mixed bill, the opener should be something that the headliners, are like, hey, I think you should listen to this. And my best example is Rage and Wu-Tang co-headlining tour. They had Atari Teenage Riot as the opener.
Crazy. Yeah.
And everybody was in the audience like, what am I actually watching? And I sat in the back giggling because I thought it was fucking great. Thought it was great.
Yeah.
But
That is great actually.
if I was there for Wu-Tang, I would have been like, what is this? If I was there for Rage, I would have been like, what is this?
But how many fans do you think Atari Teenage Riot got after that?
Probably not a lot. Probably not a lot. Well, let's put it this way. If you were there for Wu-Tang Clan, you weren't going to be into Atari Teenage Riot.
True.
But if you were there for Rage, you at least have a little bit of a harder bone, right, in your ear. Maybe,
Yeah.
or maybe I'm completely wrong. And maybe there were people who walked away who were big fans of their two favorite albums now are like RZA and Burn Berlin Burn. Like, who knows? Who knows?
What do we now? All right, say that. So they're more than likely there's a promoter listening to this, just cursing us out because oh you don't know shit, you don't book shows. Yeah, we don't. But Jay goes to how many shows a month?
I try to do at least 1 to 2 a month.
Probably more at this
There
rate.
are some months where I've done 3 or 4. Like there was was it, a month or two ago I had 3 shows in a week.
Well, all yeah, in the same week. Yeah, the same
Yeah,
days in a row. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Monday, Tuesday, and then Friday. Yeah,
Yeah, so as a promoter wise, you can't sit here and say like, "Oh, these guys don't know shit," because if they're people that are actually going to shows, yeah, we actually do.
yeah, you're right. I don't book them, but I've got an entire book here full of stubs
Yeah, I
that I've
mean,
spent more than enough money on shows to tell you what works and what doesn't. And if you want to get me off the couch, because you need people like the old heads, there's always going to be that young crowd that's always up for a show. But the old heads are the ones, the people who are in my demo, 35 to 45, right? My demographic. They're the people who have disposable income typically that can afford to go to a show and buy a whole shit ton of merch.
do you mean did you say 35 to 45? You might want
Yes.
to up that to 35 to 50, buddy.
Asshole. Asshole. You get what I'm saying. You're not wrong, you dick, but you get what I'm saying. I don't even know how old I am now. Yes. Yes, I'm the one who puts out their money. And I'm telling you that the wife always busts my balls. She's like, every time you go to a show, you say, oh, this is the first time I'm seeing this band. Because it's true. A lot of times now when I go to see it, it's a band I've never seen before. Or it's a
Yeah.
band that I've seen before and love so much that I would go see them again.
Yeah, I
And you're going
mean,
to draw me in by a whole bunch of shit that I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, because you're not getting off the couch for four terrors. Fuck that.
No, no,
No, I
no,
would. I would just be like, no thanks.
no, no. Honestly, I'm getting to the point where there has to be more bands I haven't seen than I have seen in order to get me off the couch.
Yeah, and that's my biggest thing these days. It's like if I see a band and I'm like, I've seen them like three times, I don't really care anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, now there are some exceptions: Cannibal Corpse, Dying Fetus, right? Misery Index. But like, for example, that let's go back to the Signs of Swarm show. I saw them once. They were playing the August Burns, Christmas Burns Red, the August Burns Red Festival. Out of the four direct support bands, I've never seen any of them. Which is why even if I can listen to one and not really be into it, I'm going to go early to see all of them because I want to experience it.
Yeah. I want to put this out here too. If you're a promoter listening to this, come on and tell us why we're wrong.
Yeah, please tell us if we got the whole thing wrong. Like, tell us, like, you guys have never done it. The problem is blah.
Yeah, I
We
would
want
love
to
that.
know
Yeah.
what blah is because as a fan, I would then serve to educate others and be like, yo, that's why they don't do it like this. It's because of blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, because we're not saying our methods are 100% right. We're not saying that at all.
Right.
We're
And
just
yeah,
saying that we think the method should work like this. So if you're a promoter and you want to come on, let's do it.
I mean, and I'm sure there are mixed bill shows that have eaten shit, tours that have eaten shit, and I'm sure there are also monoculture tours that have done unbelievable, right? Bunch we have
Absolutely.
been to. You and I have been to a bunch. But as it gets harder and harder with more competition on the road, you need to make your shit stand out.
Yeah.
Now there is a chance to go too far. I mean, I'm not going to name the band, but there's a band that's fairly local to where we are, um, who did a tour and a record release show where it was so insane. It was like, wait, what? Why are these bands playing with that? So there is. I bring this up to say that there is a chance you could push the pendulum too far, and you actually have the fan going, "The fuck?
Yeah.
What is this? Like, what? Why is Kesha opening for Misery Index? Like that might be a wild
Yeah.
bill, actually. Now that
That,
we think
yeah.
about it,
Yeah. That, yeah. But I understand what you're saying now. That is pushing it where it's just like, what?
I get like, hey, I want my fans to try the things that I like, and I'm going to give a shout out now. Rest in peace, rest in power, whatever you want to say, Trevor from Black Dahlia Murder. Because if
Yeah.
you look at the bands that they took out, they always took out bands that they were interested in, but also they were not against type, but kind of different. So when I saw the one tour for, I think it was Everblack, it was them, but their direct support was Municipal Waste, Goat Whore, Entheos, and Artificial Brain.
Mm.
That's a fucking lineup, right? Like
I
that's a
mean,
lineup.
one could say that that's all the same type of stuff, but at the same time, it's really not.
It's very, yes, you're right. It is all extreme, but it's very different sounds. You have the brutal death metal. You have Entheos, which is more of a tech death. You had Municipal Waste, which is party hardcore. You have Goat Whore, which is the Southern sludge, and then you had Black Dahlia Murder.
I fucking love Godor.
They took out Undeath, right? Like I
Oh,
think of that I think of that the Dying Fetus show that I went to the night there was the shooting in Philly, where it was Dying Fetus, Chelsea Grin, Frozen Soul, Body Snatcher, Undeath. And yes, that's not a straight monoculture, but there's just enough at the margins.
yeah.
Right? If you have Dying Fetuses in the middle, you have Frozen Soul and Undeath over here, you have Body Snatcher over here, you have Chelsea Grin over here, way towards the deathcore piece. I would argue that's a mixed bill that worked.
Absolutely.
The One another great example, right? Like, and then we're going to put this one to bed. The Hatebreed Satisfaction 25th anniversary tour. Hatebreed, Twitching Tongues, Dying Fetus, Code Orange.
That's a mixed bill.
Yeah, yeah, that was insane. It was
And that
insane.
that sold out like a lot of
Oh,
shows,
that
right?
was that was sold out. That sold out day of. It was insane. It was packed. It
But
was
then look at
packed.
the Lorna Shore tour where it's Lorna Shore aboard it, all the same kind of genre, but that sold out instantly.
True. So we're not contradicting ourselves. We're proving that there are exceptions, right? That we don't. Again, we're not geniuses, but look at the next Lorna Shore tour. Them, Sanguisugabog, Kubla Khan, Whitechapel.
Yeah,
Sold out.
That's good for me too, right
Sold
there.
out.
Yeah, the bog is a fucking just great example
I
of any. They can
yes.
be on any show, death metal, hardcore, because for some reason, just the hardcore kids love that band.
That's an idea for a good show. The utility bands. Bands
Yeah,
that could play on any type of bill that they fit in and they're gonna win people over. We
it's
should do that
definitely
for a
them.
show because they're a great example. They can play on just about anything. As laughably extreme as they are, they pretty much fit with just about anybody.
Yeah, we should get Devin back on and ask him about that.
Yeah, then we can talk about fucking Soundgarden
Oh yeah,
because you want to talk about Soundgarden. All right, people. Again, if you're in a band and you think we're full of shit, reach out, come on the show, correct us. If you're a promoter and you think we're really full of shit, we have no idea what the fuck we're talking about, reach out, come on the show. Let's talk about it. New Breed underscore podcast, both Twitter and Instagram. New Breed podcast at gmail.com, 267-297-4627. If you don't want to asynchronously react to us, leave us a voicemail. Say, hey, you idiots are retarded, and here's why I'm right and you're wrong. Love to have you on. Find us on r/new metal. Find us on our Facebook group. Find us every Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern for a reaction vid, and every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. The audio sometimes takes a bit longer because again, my brain doesn't necessarily work right. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Until next week, it's Jay and Tim saying cheers.
later.